There is a wound that every Cancer soul carries, hidden beneath the protective shell they show the world. A wound so deep that it shapes every relationship they enter, every person they love, and every heartbreak they endure. This is not a wound they chose. It was carved into them in childhood, when they first learned that love is conditional, that safety is fragile, and that the people who are supposed to nurture them might be the very ones who abandon them. And so Cancer grows up believing a terrible lie, that to be loved, they must become the caretaker, that to be safe, they must anticipate everyone's needs, that to belong, they must sacrifice themselves on the altar of other people's comfort. This is why Cancer loves the wrong people, not because they lack discernment, but because their deepest wound whispers that they are only worthy when they are giving, only valuable when they are needed, only lovable when they are enduring pain. But what no horoscope will tell you is this: the Cancer wound is not just personal, it is ancestral, it is lunar, it is woven into the very fabric of the moon's pull on the tides, into the rhythm of the ocean's eternal return to shore, into the archetype of the mother who gives and gives until there is nothing left. To understand why Cancer loves the wrong people, we must descend into the depths of this wound. We must trace its origins back through mythology, through childhood, through the collective memory of every soul born under the sign of the crab. And we must face the truth that Cancer's greatest gift, their capacity to love unconditionally, is also the source of their deepest suffering. The story begins not in this lifetime, but in the ancient myth of the crab. In Greek mythology, during the second labor of Hercules, the goddess Hera sent a giant crab named Karkinos to distract the hero as he battled the multi-headed Hydra. The crab, small and vulnerable compared to the monstrous serpent, emerged from the dark waters of the lagoon and bit Hercules on the foot. It was a futile gesture. Hercules crushed the crab beneath his heel without even pausing in his battle, yet Hera, moved by the crab's loyalty and sacrifice, placed it among the stars, immortalizing it as the constellation Cancer. This myth is not just a story. It is the blueprint of Cancer's wound, the crab that gives everything for a cause that will destroy it, the creature that bites at the heel of greatness, desperate to be noticed, to matter, to prove its worth through sacrifice. And in the end, what does the crab receive? Death beneath the foot of the one it tried to help. Yet the goddess rewards this sacrifice with immortality, teaching Cancer a dangerous lesson. That suffering for others is noble. That self-destruction in service of love is heroic. That to be remembered, one must first be crushed. This is the first layer of Cancer's wound, the belief that love requires sacrifice, that to be worthy of affection, they must offer themselves up again and again, even when it costs them everything. And so from childhood, Cancer learns to scan the emotional atmosphere of every room they enter. They become psychic sponges, absorbing the moods, fears, and unspoken needs of everyone around them. If mother is sad, Cancer becomes the comforter. If father is angry, Cancer becomes the peacemaker. If a sibling is hurting, Cancer becomes the protector. They learn early that their value lies not in who they are, but in what they can provide. And this conditioning runs so deep that by the time Cancer reaches adulthood, they no longer know who they are beneath the mask of the caretaker. The moon, Cancer's ruling planet, governs the tides, the rhythms of emotion, the cycles of birth and death. But the moon is also the keeper of memory. It holds the imprints of every emotional experience, every moment of abandonment, every instance where Cancer gave their heart and received indifference in return. And because the moon rules the subconscious, Cancer cannot simply forget these wounds. They carry them in their body, in their nervous system, in the way they flinch when someone raises their voice, in the way they stay too long in relationships that have long since turned cold. The moon whispers to Cancer that the world is dangerous, that people leave, that safety is an illusion. And so Cancer builds a shell, hard on the outside, soft within. The crab carries its home on its back because it has learned that nowhere is truly safe, that protection must come from within, that vulnerability is a liability. But here is the paradox. The very shell that protects Cancer also imprisons them. It keeps them from being truly seen, truly known, truly loved for who they are, rather than what they provide. Many Cancer souls are born into families where the mother wound runs deep. Perhaps the mother was emotionally unavailable, drowning in her own unhealed pain. Perhaps she was overly enmeshed, clinging to the child as a source of comfort rather than offering comfort herself. Perhaps she was absent entirely, leaving Cancer to mother themselves and everyone else from a young age. This early experience shapes Cancer's entire relationship with love. They learn that mothers, the ones who are supposed to nurture, can also be the source of abandonment. They learn that the feminine, the principle of unconditional love, is actually conditional, fragile, and unreliable. And so Cancer grows up with a hunger that can never be satisfied, a longing for the mother they never had, the safety they never felt, the home that never was. This hunger drives them into the arms of people who cannot possibly fill it, people who are emotionally unavailable, people who take without giving, people who see Cancer's devotion as weakness rather than strength. And Cancer stays, not because they are weak, but because leaving would mean admitting that love is not enough to heal anyone, that their sacrifice was meaningless, that they have been crushed beneath the heel of someone who never even noticed them biting at their ankle. Cancer's deepest wound is the belief that they are unlovable unless they are useful. This belief is so deeply embedded that Cancer cannot even see it operating. They genuinely believe they are choosing to give, to nurture, to sacrifice. They do not realize they are performing love in exchange for scraps of affection. They do not see that they have made themselves invaluable to people who would never do the same for them. This is why Cancer attracts narcissists, emotional vampires, and people who are fundamentally incapable of reciprocity. Not because Cancer is naive, but because their wound is a beacon that calls to those who need a caretaker, a mother, a savior. And Cancer, mistaking this need for love, steps into the role with devotion. They cook the meals, they listen to the problems, they hold the space, they absorb the pain, and slowly, imperceptibly, they disappear. The soft center beneath the shell becomes smaller and smaller until Cancer is nothing but a hollow armor, a caretaker without a self, a moon that reflects everyone else's light but generates none of its own. The ocean is Cancer's true home, not the land where the rules are rigid and the air is cold, but the ocean where emotions ebb and flow, where the tides pull and release, where depth is infinite and darkness is natural. But the ocean is also a place of drowning. Cancer must learn to navigate these waters without being consumed by them. They must learn that feeling deeply is not the same as being responsible for everyone else's feelings. That empathy does not require self-erasure. That love does not mean tolerating cruelty. The ocean teaches Cancer that tides always return, but they also always recede. That clinging to what is leaving will only pull them under. That some things must be released into the depths, allowed to sink, allowed to dissolve so that new life can emerge on the shore. But Cancer resists this lesson. They hold on long past the point when anyone else would let go. They carry memories like stones in their pockets, weighing them down, pulling them deeper into the cold, dark water. They replay conversations from years ago, searching for the moment they could have done something different, said something better, been someone more lovable. And this is Cancer's prison, not the shell they build to protect themselves, but the past they refuse to release. The mother who never saw them, the lover who never stayed, the friend who betrayed them. Cancer holds these losses inside their body like pearls of pain, beautiful and terrible, formed layer by layer around the original wound, and they tell themselves that remembering is loyalty, that holding on is love, that to forget would be to betray the part of themselves that once believed things could be different. The crab moves sideways, never directly forward, always at an angle. This is not weakness, it is strategy. Cancer approaches life indirectly because direct confrontation feels too dangerous. They sense the emotional currents before anyone else does. They know when someone is lying, when love is fading, when danger is approaching. But instead of addressing these truths directly, Cancer adjusts. They become more accommodating, more giving, more invisible. They hope that if they just love harder, give more, sacrifice deeper, the other person will finally see them, will finally choose them, will finally love them back the way they deserve. But this never happens, because people who are incapable of reciprocity are not changed by devotion. They are enabled by it, and Cancer, in their sideways approach, ends up teaching people exactly how to take advantage of them. The shell is both Cancer's protection and their curse. It is the armor they wear to survive in a world that feels too harsh, too loud, too cruel. But the shell also keeps people out. Even when Cancer desperately wants to be known, to be held, to be loved, the shell remains. Because beneath the shell is the soft, vulnerable creature that was crushed once before. The part of Cancer that still believes they are not enough. That if people saw the real them, the needy, scared, wounded them, they would leave. And so Cancer shows the world the caretaker, the nurturer, the one who has it all together. And they never let anyone see the child inside, who is still waiting for someone to ask, "Are you okay? What do you need? How can I care for you?" This is the tragedy of Cancer. They give the love they most desperately need to people who can never return it. In ancient times, the moon was worshipped as the Great Mother, the goddess who governed fertility, tides, and the cycles of life and death. She was Selene in Greece, Luna in Rome, Chandra in India. She was the one who saw everything, who held all sorrows, who waxed and waned but never truly disappeared. Cancer carries this lunar inheritance in their bones. They are natural mothers, even if they never have children. They mother their friends, their partners, their co-workers, their parents. They create homes out of empty spaces, warmth out of coldness, safety out of chaos. But no one ever asks, who mothers the mother? Who holds Cancer when they are falling apart? Who creates safety for the one who spends their life creating it for everyone else? The answer too often is no one. And so Cancer learns to mother themselves, to rock themselves to sleep when nightmares come, to wipe their own tears when no one is watching, to tell themselves it is okay to be alone, even when loneliness is the thing they fear most. The moon has a dark side, the side that never faces the earth, the side that holds all the shadows, the grief, the rage, the parts of Cancer that are not nurturing or soft, This is the side of Cancer that no one wants to see, the side that is bitter about all the times they gave and received nothing, the side that resents being expected to forgive, to understand, to make space for everyone else's humanity while their own is ignored. This dark moon side of Cancer can become cold, manipulative, passive-aggressive. When Cancer's wound is activated and their needs remain unmet, they do not rage like Aries or cut like Scorpio. They withdraw. They punish with silence. They make you feel their absence in a way that is more devastating than any confrontation. This is Cancer's shadow, the wounded child who has learned that guilt is the only weapon they have against people who refuse to care. The ancestral wound runs deep in Cancer. Many are born into family lines where emotional repression, unspoken grief, and generational trauma are the inheritance. Cancer absorbs these patterns without even realizing it. They carry their grandmother's grief, their mother's disappointment, their great-great-grandfather's shame. They feel the weight of everyone who came before them, everyone who suffered in silence, everyone who sacrificed themselves for the family. And Cancer believes it is their duty to continue this tradition, to hold the pain so others do not have to be the container for emotions that have been denied for generations. But this is not honor, this is imprisonment. And until Cancer recognizes that they are not responsible for healing their entire lineage, they will continue to attract people who expect them to do the same thing in relationships, to hold their pain, to fix their brokenness, to be the therapist, the mother, the savior. Cancer's gift is also their curse. They can feel what others feel, sometimes more clearly than the other person feels it themselves. This empathic ability makes them extraordinary friends, partners, and healers. But it also makes them magnets for people who do not know how to process their own emotions. People who unconsciously seek Cancer out because they need someone to hold the feelings they cannot hold themselves. And Cancer, unable to distinguish between empathy and enmeshment, takes on these feelings as if they are their own. They feel the lover's sadness and believe they caused it. They feel the friend's anger and believe they deserve it. They feel the parent's disappointment and believe they are a failure. This is the danger of Cancer's gift. They lose themselves in the emotional tides of others, forgetting that they are not responsible for calming every storm. The wound that Cancer carries is the wound of conditional love. The experience of being told implicitly or explicitly that they are loved only when they are good, only when they are helpful, only when they make life easier for others. This conditioning creates a terror in Cancer, a fear that if they stop performing love, if they stop being useful, they will be abandoned. And so they stay in relationships long after love has died. They forgive betrayals that should never be forgiven. They make excuses for behavior that is inexcusable, because leaving would mean confronting the truth that they were never truly loved for who they are, that the person they devoted themselves to never saw them at all. The healing of Cancer's wound begins with a radical act, the act of receiving. Cancer must learn that love is not only about giving, that healthy relationships require reciprocity, that it is not selfish to have needs, to express them, to expect them to be met. This is terrifying for Cancer, because receiving requires vulnerability. It requires admitting that they are not self-sufficient, that they need others, that they are not the mother, but also the child. It requires letting the shell crack open, allowing someone to see the soft, scared creature beneath, and trusting that they will not crush it. This is the initiatory path of Cancer, to risk being seen, to risk being loved not for what they provide, but for who they are, to learn that their worth is inherent, not earned, that they do not have to mother the world to deserve a place in it. Cancer must also learn to grieve, to let the ocean of their emotions move through them without drowning in it, to cry for the childhood they never had, the mother who could not hold them, the lovers who used them, to release the past that they have clung to like a life raft, not realizing it is the very thing pulling them under. This grief is sacred. It is the water that washes away the false belief that love requires suffering. It is the tide that carries away the debris of old relationships, old patterns, old wounds. And when Cancer allows themselves to grieve fully, they discover something miraculous. That beneath the grief is not more pain, but peace. That beneath the wound is not emptiness, but wholeness. That they were never incomplete. They were only convinced that they were. The moon waxes and wanes, but it never truly disappears. Even in the darkest night, the moon is there, reflecting a light it does not generate, guiding those who are lost. Cancer must learn to be like the moon, to honor their cycles, to know that there will be times of fullness and times of darkness, times of giving and times of retreat, that it is not weakness to withdraw into their shell when the world is too much. That rest is not selfishness, that they do not owe anyone access to their softness when they are in a phase of protection. The moon teaches Cancer that cycles are natural, that loss is temporary, that even the darkest night gives way to dawn. Cancer's ultimate lesson is to become the mother they never had, not to others, but to themselves, to hold themselves with the tenderness they have always offered others, to speak to themselves with the compassion they have always extended outward, to create a home within themselves that is so safe, so warm, so unconditionally loving that they no longer need to seek it from people who cannot provide it. When Cancer learns to mother themselves, something shifts. They no longer attract people who need saving. They no longer mistake codependency for intimacy. They no longer believe that love requires suffering. Instead, they begin to attract people who are whole, who are capable of reciprocity, who see Cancer's devotion not as an opportunity to take, but as a gift to be honored. The ocean always returns to shore. The tide always comes back. This is the promise that Cancer must hold in their heart. That love, real love, does not abandon. That people who are meant to stay will stay. That they do not have to chase, cling, or contort themselves to be worthy of affection. The ocean does not beg the shore to accept it. It simply arrives again and again in its own time, according to the rhythm of the moon. Cancer must learn to love like the ocean, to give freely but also to recede, to nourish but also to honor their own tides, to be vast and deep and powerful without needing anyone's permission. Why does Cancer love the wrong people? Because their wound tells them that suffering is the price of belonging, that sacrifice is the currency of love, that to be crushed beneath the heel of someone greater is an honor. But this is not truth. This is trauma. And Cancer is not the crab that Hera placed in the sky as a reward for its suffering. Cancer is the ocean itself, ancient, powerful, infinite, the keeper of all emotions, all memories, all tides. And when Cancer learns to love themselves with even a fraction of the devotion they have given to others, they will finally understand that they were never unworthy. They were only loving people who were incapable of seeing the treasure they held. The shell will always remain. Cancer will always need protection, always need a home they can retreat into when the world is too harsh. But the shell does not have to be a prison. It can be a sanctuary, a place of rest, not of hiding, a reminder that softness is not weakness, that vulnerability is not danger, that the heart can remain open even after it has been broken. This is Cancer's gift to the world. The reminder that love, real love, is not about performance or perfection. It is about presence, about showing up again and again, even when it hurts, about holding space for pain without trying to fix it, about being the moon in someone's darkest night, reflecting back to them their own light when they have forgotten it exists. But Cancer must learn that this gift is not meant to be given to everyone. It is sacred, it is powerful, and it must be offered only to those who are capable of honoring it, who see it not as a weakness to exploit, but as strength to cherish, who understand that to receive Cancer's love is not a right, but a privilege. The wound may never fully heal. Cancer may always carry the scar of the childhood where they were not held the way they needed, but scars are not signs of weakness. They are maps of survival, proof that Cancer endured, that they loved fiercely even when it cost them everything, that they refused to harden their heart even when the world gave them every reason to. And perhaps that is the ultimate truth of Cancer, that their capacity to love, even after being crushed, even after being abandoned, even after being used, is not a wound all. It is their superpower, the proof that the ocean cannot be contained, that the tides cannot be stopped, that the moon will always return, no matter how dark the night. Cancer does not love the wrong people because they are broken. They love the wrong people because they are healers in a world full of people who mistake healing for servitude, because they are oceans in a world that only knows how to take, because they are moons in a world that forgets to look up. But when Cancer learns to see their own worth, to honor their own needs, to choose themselves first, everything changes. The wrong people fall away, the right ones appear, and Cancer discovers that they were never meant to be the crab crushed beneath someone's heel. They were always meant to be the constellation, the light in the darkness, the guide for those who are lost, the proof that even the smallest, softest creature can be immortalized, not through sacrifice, but through the courage to keep loving, keep feeling, keep returning to shore, no matter how many times the world has tried to drown them. This is why Cancer loves the wrong people, not because they are weak, but because their love is so strong that they believe it can transform anyone. And perhaps one day, Cancer will learn the most important lesson of all, that the only person their love was ever meant to transform is themselves.